Hey, it's Jamie, and welcome to a selects edition of Eventual Millionaire. This is where we go back and find the best of the best, the ones that you loved from the past 6-7 years. We've been doing this a long time, and there's some amazing interviews with amazing guests that you have not seen yet. So we are bringing them back. It is the selects edition. Let us know what you think, and I hope you enjoy.
Potent advice and inspiration from real self-made millionaires. Welcome to the Eventual Millionaire with your host, Jamie Masters.
Welcome to Eventual Millionaire. I am Jamie Masters, and today on the show we have Tina Tower. Now, she's a business coach and strategist. She's also owned an educational and tutoring company beforehand. Plus, she's a mom. Thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me.
And you are also a podcaster, so I absolutely love it. It's called Her Empire Builder.
That's right. Yeah, I love it. Podcasting is the best.
I get to talk to people like you, even though it's 5:30 in the morning for you. So again, thank you so much for waking. She's like, opportunity, go.
Yes. The downside is if people are watching on video, apologies for my face. The upside is though, my voice has like this much lower than normal octave that I'm loving.
It's very sexy. So all the audio people.
This is not what I normally sound
and
like.
Your face is beautiful. Don't even. Okay. So you have a very similar mission to me about helping, especially women, make over $1 million so they have some freedom. Tell me a little bit more about where that came from.
Where that came from. So I've been working with women my whole business life. So like you said before, my first business was in tutoring centers. So I had a franchise company and all of my franchisees but one were women. And I really love that breaking the norm. So many women that I speak to think that it's an either or choice, that we can either have babies and have families or have successful businesses. And I really wanted to be an example of what that was like to have both. And then once got there, I went, okay, how can I help other people be able to do that? Because it's so much fun. So I was just, I've always been very passionate about it. And then once I got into this online course game and saw the stats of how many men are up the top, it was like, okay, this is just like every other area.
Ding, ding, ding.
And how can we make some equalization with that? And talking to women, and you've probably experienced the same thing. I see a lot of women get their businesses to a really beautiful, healthy, like $500,000 sort of stage. And then they go, you know what? My life is great. I have great profit coming in. I have great balance. I don't want to ruin that, like break it. And so they just stay where they are because so many examples that we see is all this like hustle and grind and that you have to then leave life behind. And so I really am very passionate about showing that you actually can have both of those. And this is how we can do it.
Let's dive into it though, because it's like more revenue then means more problems and more work and more time and more, and it doesn't necessarily have to, but when they're in it, it's different, right? Their brain's like, oh my gosh, it has to be more instead of
and I think with traditional business, it kind of is. I mean, the reason I sold my previous company was because it got too big for me. And I was like, oh my gosh, this isn't life. This is awful. And so sold it. And I always, like the biggest mental barrier I've broken through with this current business is going that more doesn't equal more headache. And that was the biggest thing for me was every time I would get like after a launch, I would have like massive anxiety attacks and going, how am I going to handle this new level? Like, how's this going to work? And blah, blah, blah. And then it'd be okay. I'd be like, how about that? And then you go to the next bit and the next bit. And it is getting over that fear because traditionally more has meant more staff, more headaches, more work, and not necessarily more profit, just more revenue.
Well, that's right. So do you feel like that's a key distinction for service-based business versus sort of more of the online model?
Yeah, absolutely. And even with the online model, I mean, I see a lot of people that aren't getting the profit because they're funneling everything into bucket loads of Facebook advertising or outsourcing for people that cost $1 gazillion a month and doing all of the different things there that, you know, I always, when I started, when I would rather, like when I began, I was like, I want to make $500,000 a year, but have an 80% profit margin, than make $3 million a year and have a 10% profit margin. So let's go for that. And so that's the type of business that I was trying to build was a healthy one.
Well, it is like growth for growth's sake, which we know logically doesn't make a lot of sense, but it feels like when you're in it, there's like bloat. Like, well, that person's doing this and I need to put this much money in Facebook ads. So how do you really determine what is worth it and what isn't for like a 500,000 to $1 million online business?
Yeah, well, I like for my first seven figures, like I was very lean. I got to 700,000 with no staff.
Not even
Um,
executive admin?
nope, nothing. No,
Wow.
yeah, I don't advise it. But
Okay, thank
what
you.
I do. Yeah. Um,
And kiddos. Yeah. No, that doesn't sound
now
fun.
I go,
Okay.
my right-hand woman, I don't know how I would function without her. I've become very codependent in a very short amount of time. But doing that and also no advertising. I did no Facebook advertising. I've actually only just started now. So the business is over $1 million a year and just starting Facebook advertising. So
Okay,
I
we
think
need
that
to talk about that. Yes.
I know it's very different in this online course world to do that.
Well, I think it's
Yeah.
important to, so I think that's what's so interesting is that because Facebook or paid ads in general are pushed so heavily that even people that aren't making any money even are like, oh, this is the way to do it when they haven't even figured out sort of the basis of how to actually sell the program that they're working on, let alone adding fuel to it, right?
Yeah.
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 How did you do it?
How did I do it? Not on purpose, because I see people that kill it with Facebook ads, and I go, "Ah, I really should do it." So a couple of reasons why I didn't was one, when I started, I was frightened of being too big. I had just sold a big company and I didn't want that again. So I thought, well, what's the point in like throwing all this money and like making it huge and doing that? And the other thing that I see a lot is like webinar conversions, for example, paid traffic. You might get 500 people on the webinar, maybe only 100 show up and maybe only 10 of them buy. My conversion, I could get 50 people on a webinar, 40 of them are going to buy from me because it's such beautiful, nurtured, warm traffic. And to me, that was easier to manage than the massive volume where nobody knew who I was.
It really
So
is. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
yeah. So I went the effortful road because I'm a tight ass too. I didn't want to like waste money on Facebook advertising. I saw a girlfriend at the beginning and she was like, I did a $300,000 launch. I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing. Like my first launch was $11,000. I was doing cartwheels down the road. I was like, this is incredible. So she did that. And then she spent like just over $200,000 on Facebook advertising to get that. And I was going, that does not seem right that you're giving that much of your money to an advertising company. So I kind of then from the beginning went, I'm just going to take that out of the equation. How can I build the business otherwise? But it is a lot of effort. So when people see a lot of the content that I do and all of the effort I put into marketing, a lot of people will go, nah, just pay for it. Thanks.
Well, do tell. Like, what are those lanes that you found for organic traffic that really works for you? Because that's what everybody wants to know. Even if it does take a lot of time, they want to know.
Yeah, so pretty much it's like all the things,
Mm-hmm.
all the things. I have a podcast. The podcast gets transcribed and that goes on the website for SEO. We make a blog post out of that. I post on social media every day, a couple of times a day. We have good quality posts. They're not just like flippant posts. They're ones that we sit and think about, that give value. We do different lead magnets every week that funnel in from the podcast episodes with a call to action that goes in there to build the list that way.
And you found, wait, before you keep going, so I've done that before also, and that was a lot of work. And conversions, so do you find that it really works? Either it keeps your conversions up, or does it get you new people signing up, or is it just engagement?
Yeah. Because most of my customers either come from our podcast or Instagram, specifically Instagram stories, which has blown my mind. So it's a way to get those people to take that next step and join the email list.
Yep,
and then once they're on there, then I can take our relationship to the next level.
Please tell me. Yes. How do we do that?
And do that one. So yeah, it's a lot of effort. I mean, like a couple of weeks ago, I did a photo shoot and like a personal branding photo shoot, and a lot of people were asking questions. So I did a podcast episode about it, and then had a checklist download for everything that you need to prepare for your photo shoot and different shots to get for your photo shoot. Yep. So in the podcast, I can say, okay, go to tinatower.com/photo and get your checklist. And so then all the people that are hearing that will then go to the website, get their checklist, but then I can say, hey, new friend, how you going?
Yes.
So
And it's helpful. It's really helpful. Not just
yeah,
I mean, because sometimes it's like, oh, it's just the transcript, or it's like the three questions I asked. And I'm like, that wasn't a downloadable lead magnet. It's three questions. I could have written that down.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And so creating that, I mean, we do one of them, really a couple a month. So it's a lot, but to create one of those, I mean, Canva,
Yeah.
anyone can. Oh my God, I love Canva. So you can create beautiful things really easily on that. And then you've got your landing page, your form, your automations, which most of it is going through the same email funnel other than the first email, and then your welcome page. So it's, 10 minutes to be able to do it once you're practiced with it. So it's not too bad. And then I do a lot of live video, which I think contributes a lot, is showing up consistently for your customers and offering massive value. And if you do that again and again, then I think you're going to do really well.
How much time are you spending creating content on a weekly basis?
Oh, good question. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I batch a lot. So I spend a full day a month doing that month's social media. So that's pretty much just the social posts.
Okay.
Which works fine. And then about half a day doing the podcast. And then throughout the week, I'll probably spend 2 or 3 hours.
Okay. That's actually not too bad, especially if you're doing Instagram stories every single day, though. That seems like that adds up. Or are they just super short?
Yeah, they're super short. They're not, so the Instagram story, why I say like it surprised me with Instagram stories is I put a hell of a lot of effort into what we're going to do for our podcast episodes, what we're going to do for our like webinars and all of that sort of thing. Like it's good quality, valuable stuff. Instagram stories is not. It's like, hey, like just you talking about day in the life kind of thing. Like here I am, this is what I got on today, this is how we're going, talking about, my webinar blunders or whatever I'm doing on there and connecting with people. But this is the thing, social media is social. It's supposed to be like that. And so that is where I actually have most of the conversations with people. So I do my own, I'm still in my own DM inbox, which I don't know how long I will last doing that. Especially because my new book is coming out. So I don't know whether that will take me to the level that I can no longer do that. But I really love it because I like talking to people.
It's real connection. Yeah, it's the other person on the other side. Yeah.
Yeah, especially like I'm quite introverted and going like online business is an introvert's dream. Like it's lovely that I can sit at home, connect with people all over the world from the comfort of my home in my slippers. I love it.
Bright and early at 5:30 in the morning. Yes. but knowing that and knowing that you can, especially with Instagram stories, make that hardcore connection with somebody, because that's what's so hard. I mean, with the pandemic and everything else, like, thank goodness we had this, because we wouldn't be able to connect with humans in general otherwise. But how do you know, like, you've been doing it for a long time. How did you figure out how you've been, like, what Instagram stories works and what doesn't, what's content based versus what's, hey, I messed up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I was having this conversation with someone yesterday because I wanted to put a post up and then I chickened out about it. And I was like, I don't want people to think like I'm a real asshole. And isn't that terrible that I still care? People say you've got to get to the level where you don't care what people think. I'm not there yet. I'm working on it. But there was this post going from someone who's really influential in our area going like, I'm sick of seeing people's highlight reels and happy all the time and all of this sort of thing. Like, that's not real life, blah, 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 blah. And it was huge, the response to this, and going, oh my gosh, I needed to hear that. Like, my life's so hard right now. Blah, blah, blah. And I was so triggered by it because I'm going, you know what? Life can be freaking fantastic. And when I put up all happiness, I am pretty much sunshine and rainbows 95% of the time. And on my Instagram, it's not my highlight reel. If I actually put the best parts of, like, I think people would hate me. And so we were having this debate in going, misery loves company, and the negative stuff does so much better in terms of engagement than the positive, which is a shame.
Huh. Yeah.
So I know that positive after positive after positive doesn't work. So sometimes if I do make a blunder, I'm like, yes, I can share that. Do that. Because I'm generally enthusiastic about life and pretty optimistic. And yeah, that's not the most popular thing.
It's so hard though, because it's like you want to show real life, because we all have ups and downs in general, whether like we all mess up, as we're all humans
Yeah.
in general. But but you also, negative Nancy, you're kind of trying to inspire people. So if you just did that all the
Yeah.
time, also, who wants to listen to that?
Yeah, like no one will ever see a post from me going, "Oh my God, my life's so hard. I had the worst day." I'm like, I would want to backhand myself. Like, you spoiled shit. I'm so lucky to live the life I'm living right now. Like, it's just no.
Yes. Oh, that's awesome. Well, and it's funny too, because do you share like your kid? Like that's the other thing too. You've got so many facets to your life. Oh, tell me more then.
Yeah, so I'm pretty so in my first business, I actually had a cyber stalker for a bit, which totally changed my relationship with social media. And I think it was like, now I had no, at that time, no aspiration or even thought that I was ever going to go into online business. And so looking back, I'm really glad that it happened, because it meant that I could craft this business very consciously, knowing how I would handle something like that if it happened again. So I'm really purposeful with what I share. So I have, like, I love Jenna Kutcher, and she talks about her like 5 things that she shares. And I kind of did that from the beginning. But for me, it's not my kids. Like, they'll appear every now and then just to show, hey, I am a mum, usually on their birthday. But other than that, I definitely don't put their daily life. I'm really careful. They're never in their school uniform on there, so no one can tell where they go to school. Like, I never show anything from the inside of my home. I keep a lot of my private life actually very private and let the work be there. So I talk about the work. And this was the hard part too, is I didn't want to, I'm not one of the beautiful people. And so many people in our industry they can sell because they're just freaking gorgeous and can sit on a beach in their bikini. And I knew that was not going to be the way I was going to be able to sell my business. And I had to sell it through my brains. And so that's really consciously what I did, was go, all right, how can I really embrace and illuminate the parts of myself that are me? I'm not going to try and pretend to be someone else. I'm a big geek. I love rainbow. I'm super organized. Systems are my love language. Like, I'm just going to embrace it and go for it. And that's what I did.
I so appreciate you saying that too, because like I've also had stalkers, and I think it's chatting with somebody like Pat Flynn where he shows his entire family. I'm like, I don't feel comfortable doing that in any way, shape, or form, and it was hard trying to figure out what that looks like, because I did have to pay attention to where things were and what the backgrounds were, and like, have you just gotten used to it now, or you just like, how do you not do it in your house? How do you not show the inside of your house when? You know what I mean?
Well, I have my office. So we live on like a little farm, and we have our house, and then I have a 3-bedroom cottage that we painted pink. That's my office. So it gives me enough like staging area where I can do different things. A lot of the time I do it while I'm walking outside. My dogs feature a lot. So I overcompensate without my children by showing a lot of my puppies.
That's a great idea. I have 2 amazing dogs. What the heck? Why have I not done that? That's awesome.
Yeah.
Everybody loves
I show
puppies.
parts of that personally. Like, I grow all my own vegetables and fruit trees, so I show a bit of that. Like, there's different parts that I'm like, I will include in my life, but my husband very, very rarely, and my kids very, very rarely, because I don't think it's, and my sons are teenagers now, and they don't want that. Like, they don't want their mates on there going, geez, your mum, man. Like, it's just like, that's not what they want to have associated. So yeah, I like to keep that off. And I don't like the idea of people judging my children, and I just don't want it.
Yeah, that's why I love talking to moms, because I'm like, wait a minute, there's a lot of different facets to it, and how you sort of feel about all that, and what we enact, and how long you've been in business to know that you've had the craziness, right? Because some people haven't had it yet, and they don't totally understand how freaking scary that is.
Oh, it's freaking scary. Yeah, like, this guy was putting my address on Twitter and like photos at the front of my house, and just, it was really, it's the type of thing that you hear and you go, oh, like, just ignore it. So many people said but when it happens, it feels very, very yucky.
Yeah. And vulnerable, and I was going to write a whole post about it, just because I didn't even realize the basics of what that was. Not that I want to turn this whole interview into that. I just find like it's not something that we talk about a lot as influencers, and it's hard to sort of explain what it is if nobody really has been through it before. Like, unnerving. The whole thing is,
Yeah.
but you
Yeah.
also don't want to cower and not do anything because of it either. Because that's,
No, well, the
yeah.
thing for me was like you put all this effort into building presence and to being everywhere, but then this person was everywhere, like everywhere. They were on my Instagram, my Facebook, my LinkedIn, emailing me, emailing the people that I was working with. Like they were everywhere. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like this, yeah, it's a weird thing. I'm going, well, this is kind of, and then I felt really strange and going, but isn't this what I was wanting? Like, wasn't this like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I remember reading a Tim Ferriss post about what he goes through, and I was just like, oh, there are levels too. Like it's insane. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again, the world we live in, and so protecting yourself does matter, and there's going to be different
Yeah.
ways to be able to do some of that stuff. And let's start it from a way that we don't screw ourselves in the long run. So it's awesome.
Yeah,
Unfortunately,
totally.
it's awesome that you had that experience beforehand, so you really could
Yeah,
build it.
see?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, because I go like if that ever happens again, like there's not that many, pictures of my, well, there is, but not currently.
Yeah.
Pictures of my
How
kids and
does
all
your
of that.
husband feel about you being an influencer? I know he works for you also. So.
I don't think I'd call myself an influencer. I love that.
You have a
It's such
cottage
new
where you do
acting.
photo shoots and video, like that counts. That's all counts.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. How does he feel? Look, we've been together for 20 years next year. Like I was 18, so I don't think he cares. I do know like a lot of the time. So we were out at dinner last month and someone actually came up to the dinner table and was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I didn't want to disturb you through dinner, but I know you from Instagram. And that is the first time that that's happened. And oh my gosh, did he laugh? He laughed. He laughed and laughed when we left. He's like, oh my gosh, that was like the most random, funny thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, since when did business people become like
We're
I'm
cool
like,
now.
dude,
Jeez.
if you are in business, they're rock stars.
You're awesome. I know my kids look at me like, really, Mom? Really? Really?
Yeah. He do some things. He's like, aren't you embarrassed for yourself when you do that? I'm like, no, honey. Because he would put himself into it.
Yeah.
So my husband's like super private, introverted guy. And so he sees some things that I do. And like he could never imagine doing that. So yeah, like last week I did a presentation. There's 600 people on Zoom that I was talking to, and he was like, "Oh my God, I would die in the corner. Like I don't know how you do it." So yeah,
you
he sees it.
complement each other for sure.
Yeah.
So how did he end up working for you?
Yeah, so well, he worked really hard when I was building my first business. So that kind of worked. He supported me in a way that got to the level where a lot of his friends were saying, man, like this woman's taken all your money. You got to leave her. He would work overtime. I would get the money that he earned, put it back into the business to build. And I did that for like 2 years. Like it was a long time. And I'm going, trust me, it'll be worth it. Just trust me, it'll be worth it. While, of course, at the same time going, oh my God, is this going to be worth it? Anyway. So the business did take off. This was my previous business. And then in 2013, it got to the stage where him working full time and where the business was at, I had little people and I couldn't, like we were just scrambling. We were going, you know what? All we wanted to do was get married and have babies. And this is not working. The babies aren't getting enough attention and something's going to give. And my business is taking off. I really want to run with it. And he worked for a paycheck. He didn't love his work. And so he stopped work in 2013 and became a stay-at-home dad for 6 years. And then after we sold that company, we then traveled around the world for a year, which was just like the highlight of my life. It's all downhill from there. And then we came back and he was going to go back to work because his big concern was he was never a guy, like when we got married, he was like, well, you really want children, so we'll have children. It wasn't like he pined to be a dad. And then when we had babies, he was like, like baby, nothing that exciting. Didn't really fall in love with them properly until they were like 1. And then, oh my gosh, he just became like the next level dad. And as a dad of like 5-year-olds and up, he is just like epic. And so he was really worried and going, now they're hitting high school. like he's going to have this identity crisis. What's he going to do with his life kind of thing. And so went to start a couple of businesses and went to do different things. And I was scrambling, and I'm like, you know what? I've got to hire someone to do this, this, and this. I think you would be great at it. But he didn't have the experience. But I'm going, you know what? I don't think anybody has the experience. Like what we're doing is so new that I'm going to have to train someone anyway. And so we said we'd give it like a 6-month trial and do that because I wasn't sure how I'd go. Like it's very clear he works for me, and some people, you know, are okay with that and some people are not okay with that. But one of the biggest reasons I never wanted him to work for the business was I didn't ever want people to think that it's a husband and wife business. And I really hated when I was 20 when I started my first business. And whenever we went to anything together, everyone would assume it was his business and I worked for him. And I just had this big thing in going, no, I'm not doing that again. Like, I don't want people to think you're the brains behind the operation. Like that's, anyway. So
I get it. Women empowerment. You're like, dude, me.
Yeah. This is fine. You know what to do because of me. Yeah. So he started in there. So that was 3 years ago now. And he has a very separate part of the business and it's fabulous. I love having him in there because it means that we both have massive flexibility. So we both kind of parent when we want to parent and work when we want to work and like have a lot of leisure time. And like yesterday we went out to a 2-hour lunch together and had a seafood platter. Like it was just, we just have this very untraditional life, which I love.
I love it. Give me tips though, because that's the other thing, especially when the female is the boss and the husband is not. Give me some tips on working together like that.
Yeah, so I am blessed that my husband has not a shred of ambition in his body. And I think over the 20 years of our relationship, the main thing that has caused us problems is that he doesn't have ambition. Like there's been different times in my life where I'm like I am so far, I want to take over the world. Like, how do you not want to do this? Like, do you not want to do that? He would be happy like surfing 4 hours a day. Happiest, most contented dude in the world. And I'm like, come on, like surely you want more, right? You want to do it, like you want to push it. He's like, no, don't want to push it. I'm totally happy as we are. I'm like, oh my God. So like I'd go to buy like a better house or a better something. He'd like, I'm really happy what we've got now. I'm like, what? No, we're living like peasants.
The antithesis of what overachievers need.
Yes. Yeah, we've had a lot of problems like growing like that. But it's such a blessing because we never have these conflicting demands. It's not like if I want to go, like my book tour is coming up where I'll be going to 12 cities over the course of 5 weeks. So I'll be traveling a lot and I don't have like another partner that's also having big goals and wanting to do that. He's like, you know what? I've got you. You go do what you need to do. I've got the home looked after. I've got the kids looked after. Go for it. Wow. And so he enables me to fly.
It's so funny because normally you'd be like, oh no, we need the powerful overachiever people. You're like, no, it works out way better now. Now that you got over, because I'm sure when you're trying to make him something he's not, and then when you realize that he fits into this box ridiculously well, that's way better. Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of my girlfriends that have like the equally ambitious partners, they're at loggerheads all the time because they're like, no, I need to do this. And they're like, no, I need to do this. And it's like competing priorities.
Yep.
Yeah.
Especially when you have kids, because there's still somebody that typically has to stay home with them, even if they're teenagers. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
How do your kids, I say handle, but like my kids are always like, Mom, talking about the business stuff again. Do you know what I mean? Like, and they go to an entrepreneur kids school, but how do your kids react to all that?
Yeah. Well, they've never known any other way. So I'd been in business 4 years when they were born and they just had a cot inside of at that time I had retail toy store. And so they had it there. I would have them in the pouch and I would walk around the store and just when I needed to feed, I'd just like tuck it down and just pop them on and keep going and
in a toy store. These kids are like the luckiest kids ever.
I know. It was the best. I miss it. I miss it a lot. No money in toy stores, but man, is it fun. Yeah.
That's exactly what I was thinking, actually. How much profit did you actually make in that? Yeah.
Walmart kind of killed it. But yeah, it was, how do my kids handle it? I think they don't know any other way. My eldest one's really good. He's got very high EQ in going. Sometimes he will say to me, Mum, like I need you. You've been working a lot and I just want to chat. And so we'll grab hot chocolates and we'll go and sit on the beach and just do that. So it's like I find with my kids, and I've talked to them a lot about it as well, it's quality over quantity. I'm not there as much as a lot of their friends' mums are, but they've never had an issue with it because I love them up big time. There's parts of their life that are very sacred in terms of bedtime. I'm there all the time and I'm there. Like when I'm there, I am not like doing other things and running around. I'm like, their faces in my hands. Tell me about your day, you beautiful specimen. Like I am intense with my time. And then, we still bedtime song and lay there for half an hour and chat about the day. And we have all of our meals together as well. So we have a sit down breakfast as a family and we have a sit down dinner as a family. So while in the day we're then all in our separate lives, we come together really well.
How often do you work a week overall then, ish?
Oh, it depends on the season at the moment. So normally my normal work week is I do big days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Tuesday, I basically spend all day on Zoom. Monday's like a little bit of an organization day. Wednesday is usually content creation day. And then I have Thursday through Sunday off. So that is my normal week. And then in the course of a month, I have a whole week off. So that is my normal programming because in my mastermind, we have like a masterclass 1 week, a guest expert 1 week off, and then coaching accountability calls. So that week I normally take completely off. But at the moment we've got like book launch coming up. We have a retreat coming up. We're doing 13 events over the next couple of months. Like it's just a busy season. So I've been working 6 days a week for about the last 5 weeks.
Season. Yeah. So tell me about the book. When does it come out? What is it called? All the things.
So $1 Million Micro Business comes out on July 1st. And I am so excited about it. I actually, I have high hope, because we're just small goal setters. So my hopes for the book is that it's going to be a global phenomenon and be the next 4-hour work week.
Easy.
Small hope for it. So we'll see how it goes. But it is very practical guidebook in how to package your expertise into digital online programs. And then it also has success stories from people like James Wedmore and Casey Morris and Clint Salter and all of these incredible
course creators. That's funny, of course. What a surprise. You know all the people.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. You must be so excited, but it is a labor of love. What's one thing that you've learned in the book process, whether it be marketing or creation of it, that you're like, oh, everybody needs to know this if they're doing a book?
Book writing is hard, really hard. This is my second book. And, even when I was talking to a lot of my friends that are successful course creators, and they're like, I would never write a book. I'm like, why? You would write such a good book. They're like, Tina, I could write a course with the same content and make millions. What, you're going to sell your book for $29.95? But for me, I love books. I find them I have learnt so much in my life from books. Like I go, what you can get for $20 if someone's all IP and implement that and do that. Like I think books are sacred and there's still a really beautiful place for them. And I wanted to have that accessible to the world. So I put it all in there.
It's so funny. Like it's the blood, sweat, and tears that goes into it. And it's like $15. You're like, do you know how much it took to squeeze out this?
Yes. Yes. And I'm very much into instant gratification too. Like with our world, like I will, we talked about lead magnets and things before, like I'll create something and then within the day it's out and I'm getting feedback. Is this good? Is this not good? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Like how are we going to do this? Whereas like this has been worked on for over a year and just the work and the work and the work with no feedback that now it looks like we're going into like a big season of work, but it's actually the fun part now, like going, all of the work that we've done now can be visible. But I just can't wait for it to be out in the world because it's just, I cannot believe how many hours and hours and hours and weeks of going over things and the editor and the colors and everything and just going, oh, I'm just sick of I just want it out. market this baby.
I think everybody at the end of the book creating process is like, I don't care anymore. I'm just so sick of looking at the same thing over and over and over again. Hopefully everybody else will like it though. Yeah, when it's fresh and new. And the marketing, it's funny because most of my friends that launch books actually enjoy the marketing side.
Yeah,
so
I just want to do the marketing.
Yeah. Do you have any cool things coming up? So you're actually doing a book launch, which is A, pandemic weird, but also B, like that's a lot.
I know. Look, I do think like we put so much effort into it that I want to give it every opportunity. So it's kind of like I was talking to, I've got a PR guy who's doing like traditional media when the launch is happening. And, you know, he was saying, well, would you say yes to this? Do you want to do this stuff? Do you want? And I went, look, Scott, let me be very clear. You will call me. There will be nothing I will say no to. Like, I will say yes. If there is an opportunity there and you're like, I think I will bring this to you, I will be going, great. I will, like, if my time can make it work, I will make it work. Like for the next 2 months, from the second I wake up to the second I go to sleep, I will be promoting this book because I put so much effort into it and I believe in it so much that I'm going to do everything that I can to help it get out there in the world. So yeah, I'm pretty much a yes girl with that sort of thing.
Well, considering I emailed you yesterday because we had a spot open up and you're here at 5:30 in the morning and you were sleeping for half of the day. I don't even know how you ended up saying yes.
But you know what, like that is even more of it because I'm not a morning person and I get up at 7:30. And so it was like I had a big thing going, ooh, but I know you, I've listened to your podcast before and I've seen you on different things and I'm like, oh yes, she's definitely worth getting up for. There's actually not many people I would have said yes to at 5 o'clock in the morning.
I love you too. Everybody go buy a book so it's worth it. Okay, great.
You can get it on Amazon.
but what's so awesome is to see the mentality of yes when it matters, not because it sounds like you say no in so many other aspects, and that's awesome. And then when it's time to shine, then you say yes on purpose instead of just saying yes to everything all the time anyway.
Yes, that's it. And, you know, the boundaries is so hard. Like that is, like I mentioned Instagram DMs before, and that's like voice memos are killing my life right now in going, oh my gosh, I cannot handle when people send me like the voice messages. I'm like, I don't have time to listen to all these. And so I write back and go, hey, can you just give me the upshot in a sentence? And I feel like such a dick when I do it, but I'm going, I just can't listen to all these messages. And so you do have to know where your boundaries are to say yes and no to things, but there are seasons where you go, like at the beginning of business, there's so much that I said yes to that I wouldn't say yes to now because you just tapped out with energy. But for the next couple of months, balls to the wall, like the energy's out there.
Husband, watch the kids, I'm over here.
Yeah, and they're very, like talking about family, like they've been prefaced for that, like they know September all of this will be over. Like there's no, you know, I would like it to last for years and years, but the intense part, like that, it's going to be done. Like the show is over by then. So, you know, we've got a holiday booked then, it'll all be there, but they know that I'm going to be quite absent over the next couple of months and they've been brought in on the process. They know everything that's happening. They know where I'll be and like they get it. They get why.
Well, expectations are huge because if you just went away, right? Like, especially with kids in general or anyone, expectations are what's really most important.
Yeah. And I mean, they've been like, since they were about 7 or 8, they've been in our 90-day planning sessions. So we have like board table meetings every 90 days where we plan out the following quarter and we look at the results from the last one and they go for about 3 hours and the kids have been in them since they were about 7 or 8. So I think it's important to include them in it. And I mean, weirdly, sometimes they'll have ideas that are fantastic. That you go, like we were humoring them in the beginning, like, guys, what do you think of this? What do you think we should do? Do you think we should go this way or this way? And they'll say something from a completely different perspective that you're like, that's actually really good. So I think it's important. Yes. And I actually think now, like, I think they're getting to the stage now where they don't care as much. They're like, you know, they're in high school now. They're like, you know, do what you want, Mom. Like, I don't care.
Just leave me alone. No. I've got a teenager also too. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I used to be cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah.
Remember when you used to think I was funny?
Yep. I love it. But at least now you have more time to work. It's great. On both sides of the coin.
Yeah, then we'll be sad.
I know we have to start wrapping up. I wish you could go back to bed after this, so hopefully you can get a little more sleep. But what is one action besides getting your book, which everybody needs to do because she got up really early, one action listeners can take this week to help them for their goal of $1 million?
One action. You know what? I think do the thing that you know you need to do. I do think that a lot of people know the next thing that they need to do to move the needle in their business, but for so many reasons, it's not to do with the technical business aspects. It's to do with our mindset and how we get ourselves to actually do the things that we know we need to do. And so, yeah, my advice would be that scary thing that you know is going to make a difference, do the thing.
Awesome. The thing that you just thought of that that you're shoving down right now because you don't want to actually be called out on it, that thing.
Do that thing. Yes. Everyone knows. Like if you actually ask people, if I get people and I go, like, tell me 3 things that you could do in your business that would help you to make an extra $10,000 this month. People can tell you 3 things. I'm like, well, why don't you do those things? Do the things. Yeah.
You have the exact same language as me. Do the things. It's not that difficult. It's easier said than done, but still. I love it. Thank you. Thank you for getting up early, coming on the show today. Tell us about your site, where to find you, where to find the book, all the things.
So you can go to milliondollarmicrobusiness.com.
That's a great name.
And there's a whole, it is, isn't it? Yeah, there's a whole heap of resources with it. So there's a digital workbook that goes with the book as well, so that you can get everything digitally, of course, because we're a digital business. So you can get all sorts of cool stuff there as well.
Awesome. And check out her podcast. Thanks so much for coming on the show today. I so appreciate meeting you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening and investing in yourself with your time. I so appreciate it. And if you enjoyed this episode, I would be forever grateful if you would be willing to leave a rating or review in whatever app you use for your podcast. I know that's what really bumps it up in the rankings. And I would so appreciate your time, especially if you've been a long-time listener. But of course, if you like this episode and you're brand new, thank you for being here too. Have an amazing, amazing day.